their club. I don't know.
Yeah.
In the longer term.
I'd absolutely find it easy to look at the fans of other clubs in the eye if I didn't feel like we were being. First of all, I don't feel like we're being helped out. But the perception is exactly that.
You're not being helped out. You're being the opposite of helped out, because there was one of the comments mentioned about how leaving them in the Championship gives them the opportunity to look for Super League again in 2018. Well, so does putting them in League One.
Yeah.
Because Bradford could put together at short notice, the new Bradford club could put together at short notice, with their connections, links and that sort of stuff, a squad that is more than capable of getting promotion out of League One.
Yeah.
Whereas putting together a squad that's going to be competitive enough this year to even stay in the Championship, I think, is a harder proposition.
Yeah,
and what you actually result in then is 2018 is a year where they're in League One.
Yeah.
And that's when the rebuild really starts. Now that is when that angle is harsh on the fans.
Yeah, that's a year of marking time, essentially. No,
and paying penance to the way the club, because some of the fans all the fans don't deserve this, but there are fans who think that Bradford maybe have some right to be somewhere because of what they've been at different times.
I think they are, over the last 2.5 to 3 years, have become fairly innumerate, though, progressively.
One of my favourite ever memories will be at Odsall with the guy who was like, "But Uncle Jack,
we're shit now." Yeah, exactly.
We're not that team anymore.
That is a case study of exactly that. The young, realistic Bulls fan explaining to his older relative,
and I think the young
that his expectations need to be managed.
Is willing to,
of course,
carry that, because they.
Success for me next season in whatever division we're in, whatever happens, if there is a Bradford Rugby League team and it takes on much of the structures that existed pre-liquidation, will be if they invest in youth and they adopt a policy of sustainability and can continue the good work that they were doing with their academies, and young lads who want to play for a shirt and want to play for Bradford Bulls coming through and growing and developing. Yeah, we're going to see a Bradford team taking kickings this next year from all and sundry, I reckon. Let's see young lads growing and developing and being nurtured as those things are happening, and let them gain experience from it, and then go again in League One the following year with these kids,
or in the Championship. And if they're in the Championship, it's been hard earned.
Exactly, but this is a baptism that these kids wouldn't necessarily be getting, and let them take the lumps, and let's throw some of these young lads in and let them learn. There's nothing to lose.
Bradford can put together a squad. If a Bradford team can put together a squad through loan signings and that sort of thing, that could see them avoid relegation.
Yes,
but squads built that way are not regularly successful in their goals, how small their goals are. I mean, in Bradford's case, it's to avoid relegation. Now, the 12-point deduction, if they had a season that was as strong as their 24-15 season, would still leave them outside of the top 4, so would not see them in the qualifiers.
That's
so
fine.
The qualifiers are off the table.
The qualifiers are completely out of the question.
In the biggest dream scenario, if they had a season like they had last year, the 12 points would have them in the battle. They would have avoided, but been in the battle for the relegation places.
Yeah, well, that's.
And this year they'd have a squad that would be befitting of those positions. I think the tough work starts for Bradford, but I'd like to see them carry out that tough work with the Championship, with the points deduction.
Yeah.
And I don't think they've been done any favours. I think the bigger favour would be putting them in League One.
No, I agree with you. Listen, the decision's been made. If they reform, they'll play in the Championship and they'll start on -12. So be it. Let's fucking pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and put some hard work in.
Shall we talk a little bit about the wider lessons for rugby league from this? Because I'm very much opposed to the view that some have expressed that the Rugby Football League shouldn't step in, shouldn't assist the situation. I'm more of the people who got in touch and said that the RFL do need to show strong leadership over this, do need to... And I applaud the steps they've taken so far to do that, with like the announcement of the criteria and making that a transparent process and that sort of thing, and being as transparent as you can be in business matters.
Yeah.
I think the lesson to learn here is stronger regulation, not wishy-washy regulation. The reason licensing failed was because they assumed by giving these licenses out to clubs and basically not looking at anything they did for 2.5 years was going to be okay. When actually you found that there was clubs who didn't understand how to run themselves.
Yeah.
And what should have been happening is they should have been sitting down and saying, this club knows how to run themselves, look what they've done.
Yeah.
You know, and they weren't doing that. It doesn't feel like there was enough guidance, enough criteria, enough regulation of what the clubs could and couldn't do. I feel like the club should have more minimum standards to achieve, as well as like the maximum spends and those sorts of things, to give them a more constrained look of what the owners can do with the funds of that club. I think there should be a limit of at this point you cannot take any profits out of the club. You cannot have your own companies contracted to the club to make for your own financial gain. You have to prove those deals have to be ratified by us, even though they're a commercial concern of the club. I think that sort of level of into the nuts and bolts of clubs is more suitable than leaving them to it themselves.
Yeah.
Because that's when the people that miss out are all of us, the fans, the people of rugby league. We want an RFL that shows strong governance in general, I feel, and that's what I think the lesson to be learnt from this is, personally.
No, I think you're absolutely
that's
right.
my only rant on the matter.
No, that's it. And yeah, like I say, you make a tremendous amount of sense. So, shall we wrap up the show? Because I think we've got through.
Yeah, let's do it.
There's been a lot of Bulls talk. So, all that remains for us to do now is to wrap up the show. Okay, so we come to the end of this hair shirt episode of the Super League pod. Thank you so much for everyone who's contributed. It's wonderful to hear from people, especially names that we've not heard from a few weeks because we've been on our off season. We're going to be back properly with the official season preview show. We'll be recording that on the 23rd of January, which is a Monday night here in the UK. So keep your eyes peeled for your podcatchers to catch our review show.
Oh, before that,
give you. Oh, go on.
Before that, no, we want people's predictions for the season. So, come the end of this week, probably on Friday the 13th, I'll be putting up a Google form and getting that out. Set up a few scheduled tweets over the weekend and stuff for predictions. It'll be the standard sort of stuff. What, Man of Steel, Grand Final winner, Challenge Cup winner, who'll get relegated, who'll get promoted, and then how your team that you support will do, and then we're thinking of throwing in a new one. Do you want to call out the name?
We haven't settled on a name for it yet, but it's going to be for you to make your bold and out there prediction for the season. So it could be around anything, someone being promoted, someone winning Man of Steel, or anything like that. But something bold. We're going to call it the "Say What" prediction.
There you go.
That's what people pay the money for.
Effectively, we're looking for something that falls between the range of possible and improbable.
Your Leicester City-esque prediction.
Exactly. There you go. Yeah. So something that's slightly daft, but not entirely impossible.
Yeah, exactly. Like Widnes to make a grand final appearance.
Yeah, or like Dennis Betts to replace Wayne Bennett as the England coach. Yeah.
There you go.
Tanya Arnold to punch Wayne Bennett in the face during the press conference.
Yeah, feel free to have some fun with it and make some predictions, and it'll just have a fun.
Something that could happen. Yeah. You believe it could happen.
Yeah.
Not something like that can't happen. Like Toronto are going to win the World Cup.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, something within the realms of possibility, if not necessarily probability. The only other thing,
for the year ahead.
Yeah, exactly. The only other thing, there's two other things I want to bring up. The first of which is how much you look like James Clare this evening. Your moustache has kind of gone for that you've gone for that longer scraggly.
I've not gone for anything. I've neglected to trim.
There you go.
He'll be getting a trim before the weekend, I think.
But you've gone full Clare. And the other thing I want to do is thank Rich Wilkinson. As not a fellow musician, but as a fan of the sort of music he likes, and his work in terms of putting together the new music for season 4 of the Super League pod. It comes from Rich unsolicited and is very, very welcome. And But I'm a big fan of it. I don't know how
Yeah, no, it's great. It's always
nice to change it up, isn't it?
To mix things up and have listeners be a part of the show, because it's like this was all about fan views. This episode, it wasn't about what the media think or what the administrators say and that sort of stuff. It was all about our opinions as fans, you guys' opinions as fans. And Rich is a fan of the sport, and we want to have fan involvement and of any sort. And this is a great way of I think, doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
If anyone else wants to do anything for free for us, website does that.
By all means. Oh, and also shout out to the Taymouth Trojans. Get in touch with us, gentlemen. We want to hear from you, Malcolm Whittle and your brood. Let us know, because we've not heard from you yet, and we'd be very interested in
good point,
in hearing from you. And I'll send you a follow-up message on Facebook. Right, we're back on and around the 23rd of January. Keep your eyes peeled on social media for our requests for your predictions and your say what's, and we'll see you next time on your favourite rugby league podcast, the Super League Pod.